All right, welcome back to the Northeast Wake F3 Q Source podcast. With me today, you got a real treat. I've got Ilya Kolosov, tendonitis. Tendonitis, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks, Blake. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So we're in Q1.4. It's the Jester, and maybe after today, tendonitis will have a new nickname. But I reached out to Tendonitis, said, I'd love to have you on the podcast. Where would you like to come in? And he went right to it. He said, I want to talk about the Jester. So Tendonitis, why did you want to talk about the Jester?
Jester helped me grow up. In my life, in my coaching line of work, I use a different word for the Jester, but very similar to what Dredd uses, and we use the word saboteur. So in our life, we have a sage, some might call that the him, and the saboteur, the Jester. The Jester is foundationally available for all of us when we're children as a crutch, as an immediate solution.
Yeah.
And by the nature of the name, Jester is somebody that entertains at expense of self. So when I was growing up, when I grew up with a strict father, I discovered that if I can make my father laugh, then he will forget to ask me for my report card, and I won't get a beating that day. So it was a discovery that was made by accident. And in my infantile, childish mind, I made a conclusion: avoid pain, entertain. So I'm very deeply connected with the Jester, and he kind of carried me through my entire life until I got to college here in America, and I tried to use my regular tricks, entertaining people, making it all about me, even with this long answer. And eventually people said, hey, man, we're here to learn. You need to shut up and let us do that. And for the first time, I got taken aback. Wait a minute, this joking around and entertaining thing has stopped working. That's when I got curious about the Jester and started looking for ways to repurpose it.
Wow. Should bottle that up and repackage this book with that. I love the way you described that. I think I read this chapter and immediately think, how I ran from the Jester. I see it, unfortunately, missing from a lot of leadership content. But I'm with you. I don't think I could have grown up to be the mature man that I am today had I not looked the Jester in the face, had I not recognized that I had a Jester. And I think you got to give, like you said, you got to give grace to yourself to understand, that Jester is the tool you use to overcome pain, to protect yourself, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, exactly. Except for one little thing. I can only ride a bicycle for so long. Eventually, the city of my life starts having highways. And yeah, theoretically, I could get on a bicycle onto a highway, the Jester, but it's just not the right tool anymore for the reality that has shifted. So a lot of us try to ride out our entire life, even as we have interstates now, interstates of marriage, interstates of family, interstates of entrepreneurship, and we keep trying to muscle through that on a bicycle that served us when we were children. And this is why I chose this chapter, because many men refuse to upgrade their vehicle from Jester to him, or in my language, from saboteur to sage. They still think that they can muscle through it. And why? Because it's scary. Change is scary. Like you had a call with Green Thumb about the daily red pill. The daily red pill is change is the only constant. You must just surrender to it and go with it. Otherwise, get left behind.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of already speaking to this next question, but unfortunately, I look out at men, and too many men are just living their Jester. They're 40 years old, they're 50 years old, they're almost 60 years old, and they're still getting by on the Jester. And think, I love the way you describe it. You got to upgrade your vehicle. I mean, think about what you're missing out on when you don't upgrade your vehicle, yet you're still living under this thought that you're protecting some hurt place, or you're finding a way to continue to fool people rather than upgrading your vehicle and going to the places that you couldn't go, on that bicycle.
Yeah, but why? Of course, we want to know why. Familiarity is one huge part of it. I know
Mm-hmm.
exactly how to ride my bicycle. You grab the handlebars and you pedal. On a highway, you better pedal fast. But car is
Mm-hmm.
complicated. You got to start it somehow. If it's manual, forget about it. You have to know the different modalities of neutral, drive, and park, and draw, and all the other things. There's blinkers. What if it rains? You got to back it up. You got to park, parallel park. Forget about it. So it's so much easier to remain a sad clown because we are energy conserving animals. It takes
Mm-hmm.
tremendous amount of time and energy to get right, tremendous amount of time and energy to have guardrails and to live out of our sage, out of our him attitude towards life. And I don't want to do that. That's too much energy. It's so inconvenient.
Mm. So let's take a moment. Let's call out what this looks like. And you told on yourself some. I'll tell on myself for a second, and then maybe how we see it in other men. I think hopefully someone's listening to this in the privacy of their vehicle, and they're willing to have a conversation with themselves that maybe they tried to avoid, which is, how is my saboteur sabotaging my results? What is that showing up like, and what can I do about it? And then I want to move into some of the solutions that you think over and above what the book says. And so, like for me, for a long time, my Jester was I was trying to prove my value. I felt like I wasn't valued. And so I would either hide or I would talk too much. And everywhere I would go, I would try to impress everyone because I needed you to approve of me. I needed someone to tell me that I had some value to offer. And I don't know, I was talking to my wife the other day. I don't know exactly the moment, but I recognized that in another person and it annoyed the shit out of me. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's horrible. And that's not loving. And that's not contributing. And I had to see it for the truth of what it was before was willing to do anything about it. And I remember I went quiet for a while. I'd go to some meetings that I used to go to, and I had people come up to me afterwards and say, "Is everything all right? You're real quiet." And I was like, "No, everything's great. I just realized I don't need to talk near as much as I've been. I was in the point in my life I needed to learn to listen." And now I think my Jester pops its head. I don't talk too much anymore, but it might pop its head when I with anger, or especially if I feel like disrespected. It's unfortunate that we still allow disrespect to piss us off or frustrated, but I think that's where it shows up for me is feeling like I was disrespected. What else? What do you see in other men? Maybe without calling anybody by name, but just you're out meeting men. At the line of work you're in, you can probably see a man coming. You can see a Jester a mile away. What does that look like in the men that you meet?
Well, essentially, if we strip it down to the base, we all have a father wound,
Mm-hmm.
especially men. Women
Yep.
have them too, but men in particular. There's never been a man who hasn't suffered a father wound. My
Yep.
particular father wound was deeply inflicted on me when I was 16. I got into some sort of an argument with my dad. I lived in Brooklyn at the time. I was defiant and disrespectful. I think he caught me smoking weed or something, and I showed some level of arrogance. Told him, "Don't tell me what to do," and he said these horrible words to me that started my career as an entrepreneur. He said, "Who do you think you are? You are nothing, and you are nobody."
Mm.
And as 16, having just been 4 years in America, indeed, with nothing other than my father uh, making sure that I don't die as a provider of my food, that was very true. I was indeed nobody, and indeed I was nothing, and I had uh, very little to show for myself. So that really upset me, and it started the cliche "I'll show you" uh, Odyssey kind of thing. And I did show him. I live now in my house with my wife. I have the cars that I always wanted. I have two businesses. And now I'm my father's pride, joy, mentor, and support. So I did show him in many ways, and I did heal my father wound. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is a lot of men have a father wound
Mm-hmm.
that they're not even aware of what it is. And the only way I can stop a bleeding of from anywhere is if at least I'm like aware of it happening. Sometimes people get hurt and they don't even know that they're bleeding until someone tells them, "Hey, man, you're bleeding," and they're like, "What?" And they're clueless that there's bleeding going on of any kind. So they just go through life bleeding, and it hurts and it sucks and it weakens them, and they don't understand why are they so repulsive to so many. Because I don't want to be around festering flesh, and wounds again they can begin to stink eventually as the what's that word, necrosis sets in. So yeah, so there's men walking around with a father wound that was never addressed, and it needs to be healed. It could be healed through coaching, it could be healed through reading. Seldom it could be healed through camaraderie and fellowship because it's like blind leading the blind. If you have no idea how to use a gauze, how to stitch, how to, I mean, what is peroxide,
Mm-hmm.
metaphorically speaking, then you just got two bleeding people hovering over each other and lamenting what a terrible situation they're in, and that just feeds the saboteur of each other. Oh, did your daddy hurt you? Oh, my daddy hurt me too. Well, shit.
Mm. Yeah, definitely the feelings I think that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, but we see it. I mean, I see it in men who can't sit still, in men who can't be quiet, and people who have to be the center of attention, and people who get pissed off really quickly, and people who honk their horn and have road rage, right? And
Or people that need to amass tremendous wealth to make themselves
yeah,
feel like they're somebody.
yeah. I had a mentor once tell me that a free man has nothing to prove, nothing to hide, and nothing to fear. And really, the jester has all those things, is trying to prove something, is hiding from so much, and is afraid of so much. And, uh, there's power when you have your jester under control, which is why I love the fact that Dredd even takes the goes on a limb, has the courage to put this in this book. I mean, it's a leadership development content. So let's weave this into leadership development. I mean, let's be honest, who's really willing to follow a jester into battle, right? The jester cannot be your leader, yet too many people are trying to stand out front using their jester to get attention and get people to follow them. Thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, have you seen 300 with Gerard Butler?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that guy that betrayed him who couldn't lift his shield above his head? The one that sold out the 300s to the Persian king?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a great metaphor for the jester. Our sage, our him, is Gerard Butler, Leonidas in many ways. In fact, I love the idea of sage and Leonidas so much that it is on my desk. It's the thing that sits there on my desk all the time, and it's just there. So whatever I'm doing, anything, it's a reminder: be Leonidas, be sage, refuse jester, refuse saboteur. So that guy from the movie, that deformed soldier, he had all the ambition of a leader, of a sage, but because he's by nature inadequate and incapable of true battle, his ambition is not proportional to his capacity, and nobody would follow him.
Yeah.
That's my thought on that. The saboteur and the jester are deformed, grotesque versions of what we are supposed to be. They're the easy mode, the baseline minimum broken, and it's never going to get us to the destination.
Yeah, totally agree. Dredd calls the jester the master liar, and the jester is the completely inauthentic part of us. And let's be honest, like you just know when you're around someone who's not genuine, who's inauthentic. And you don't want to you can't trust someone who's not genuine or inauthentic. And so I think it's an important chapter if we're going to move forward and getting right and becoming men who can be trusted to lead. We have to be authentic. We have to be trustworthy. And the folks around us, um, I don't think they believe we are trustworthy if they sense that we're being inauthentic or disingenuous. So what do you do, Leon? Liam, I called you Leonidas. That's a compliment. Tendonitis. What do you do? How do you keep your jester at bay? Tell me about your life rhythms. I mean, besides getting up at 5 to work out at 5:30, which I think is an excellent part of the preparedness. Like, what's your life rhythm like to keep your jester at bay?
The number one tool or weapon against the jester is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's where it starts. There is there's a couple of things that we have to do, and it all starts with rituals, or as Dredd calls it, the guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, I Jester is always driven by fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. A fear of being found out, fear of being exposed, and fear of losing the little that has been amassed. The sage or the him or the get right man is driven by abundance and a willingness to serve, to be beyond the self. So awareness of these two things is the first shield, so to speak. The Ephesians, right? The armor of God, the
Yep.
sword of truth, the belts and breastplates and all that other stuff. I don't remember scripture exactly, but these are great metaphors for what we can do. Incantations,
Mm-hmm.
rituals, attitudes, core values, rules, or guardrails, as Dredd summarizes all of it. It needs to be integrated into our identity. Our identity is the most powerful psychological force. You
Mm-hmm.
identify as
Mm-hmm.
Blake Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
You happen to have a name money pit.
Mm-hmm.
You make money investing things, and
Mm-hmm.
you ride a big truck, and
Mm-hmm.
you're fit and you're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You do not identify as a drug dealer. You do
Mm-hmm.
not identify as a liar, scum, or an adulterer.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you don't do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, identity is our first and foremost fight against it. So, my mornings start with my rituals. I do my gratitude. I
Mm-hmm.
pray. I plan. What I like to do is I like to visualize my day, kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
movie preview. Just preview my day. Like I previewed earlier this morning that at 1700 I'll be on this call with you. I previewed that I'll be wearing this shirt. I was wearing a whole different shirt all day. I put it on just for this phone call because it was part of my preview. And at the end of the day, I celebrate what I did, what was good, what is something I can say to myself, good boy, good job.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, I find a way to rest and I plan my tomorrow. I preview my tomorrow in my head as well. I got jury duty tomorrow. So that's already pre-played for me. And I make identity statements all the time. My favorite one is I'm strong, determined, and disciplined leader. I am is an identity statement. It's foundational. By rewiring the lies of the saboteur and the jester that has accumulated over the years, unattended, by default, kind of like weeds. Weeds don't need nurture. They will be because the nature of the world is darkness. I have to choose light. So by choosing I am statements of appropriate adjectives and a noun, I'm able to fight back against the sad clown and the jester. So I'm strong, determined, disciplined leader. I get into a situation that questions that, I repeat it again. Because I identify as such things, I want to be right. So it increases my chances of making better choices. So I know this is a long answer. I apologize, but this is all it comes down to: identity and choices. I can choose to be a really bad person at any second, and I'm 2 or 3 decisions away from ruining my life. So all I got to do is take care of my identity and continue to make better choices every single day.
Wow. I think everyone should go back, rewind, and take notes on what Tendonitis just said. I'm serious. Um, I really appreciate that answer. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness of it. I clearly recognize the intentionality that you live your life by, and it's inspiring. And I hope that it's inspiring the other packs that don't just work out with you, but now see the wisdom uh, embodied in a man that they know and that they recognize as tendonitis. Wow. So can I ever get it? Can I ever slay this jester, or am I stuck with him?
No, you're absolutely stuck with him. Another word for that is clones. That's a military term, I believe, and clones rise every single day. Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when they go into the cave and the army of the dead show up?
I think so. It's been a while, but yeah,
Like all those ghosts, and then
yeah.
Aragon, something like whips out his sword and silences the king of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think of when I think of my saboteurs and my jesters and my sad clowns. The so I'm 37. So that means I lived here for 37 years. Let's just do a little quick math. This is important. Hang on. 37 times, let's say 360. So I lived about 13,000 days. Subtracting, let's say 3,000 for being youthful, I have 10,000 days of shitty choices. And every day that I made a bad choice spawned a clone, spawned a saboteur, spawned a jester that has empirical evidence. Look, you're an asshole right here. I have proof.
Hmm.
So I have these 10,000 clones that have accumulated over the last 37 years, and they're bringing me evidence of what a bad person I am in this or in this scenario. So they'll never die because by statistics, will make bad choices today, like day drinking or overusing profanity or betraying somebody out of laziness. And these clones, these saboteurs and jesters, that show up and present themselves as proof of my inadequacy. My job is to kill them. My job is to kill them every single day by showing up. So I'm maybe 8,000 clones behind. Maybe I killed 2,000. Again, we kill them through identity and through choices. They'll never die because a new one is born every morning. And that's why I love Christianity and Jesus Christ in particular, because he killed all the clones and he is kind of like, hey, I'm over here. I killed all the clones. Come on over. I'll like make an effort. I did it. So you catch up. So no, we're never gonna kill them. They're like a shadow. They're reborn every day because foundationally the jester was there in the beginning, just like darkness was there in the beginning. The jester protected me and allowed me to adapt to life. Some people's jesters show up in a different way. Mine shows up as humor. I use humor as a deflection to keep people away. Some people's jester shows up as hypervigilance. They pay attention to every little detail. They're always waiting for something to happen. Some people are restless. They're just always on the lookout. Something is happening. Oh my God, I got to be doing something. If I'm not doing something, then I'm not living my life. Some people are victims. Oh no, nobody called me. Nobody invited me to this. I'm going to go cry about it. And it goes on, but the biggest jesters judge because I can judge you forever. I can judge your stupid headphones. Why don't you have these wireless headphones? I can judge the fact that you still have February behind you. Why is it February? It's March already. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
And why do I judge you? Because then the spotlight is off of me.
Mm-hmm.
And my internal jester does the same. It perpetually judges me because if I kill the jester, if I threaten the jester, he dies. I like to think of it as like a parasite. It needs
Mm-hmm.
me as a host to live.
Mm.
So while I'm alive, the jester will always be.
So we're stuck with them, but I think
Yeah.
the tools you gave us are what we do to keep him at bay, to keep him minimized, and live more of our life in the identity of the Leonidas that we aspire to be. I'm going to leave it there. I think you've given us a lot to think about, and I really hope that PACs that are listening will take some time to really reflect. I know probably one of the most powerful tools I've used in my preparedness is just being willing to take time daily for personal reflection, to not run away from it, to look things in the mirror for what they really are, and you can start to get a hold of that jester through the practices that Leonidas, it's sticking, is prescribing. So any final thoughts as we close out? Any final encouragements or questions that you want the PACs to chew on before they show up at their Q source tables?
Yeah, of course. Questions open doors and answers keep us locked in. The question I'd like to leave everybody with is, where are you lying to yourself right now that it's okay?
Yeah.
That beer you had was no big deal. That porn you watched was not cheating, or that profanity you overused that didn't hurt anybody's feelings because you were just kidding,
Mm-hmm.
or the things that you're dragging your feet about and things that you're procrastinating on. Where are you lying to
Mm-hmm.
yourself and thinking stupidly that you're getting away with it? Because nothing is for free. We are paying every day. It's just the bill will come a little bit later.
Mm. Too nice. Appreciate you joining me, PAX. We'll see you at a Q source table.
Later.